Seph, welcome. Glad you could be here today.
Thanks.
You've been on the mats for decades, but also on stage with a mic in your hand. Between comedy and jiu-jitsu, where do you feel the most like yourself?
I would say at this point, still on the jiu-jitsu mats, but I'm working towards getting more comfortable on stage. But I don't feel the same level of comfort cutting loose yet as I do like when I'm teaching a class.
Nice. What is the biggest difference between the two besides the years of experience?
I mean, I think the years of experience give me a certain level of comfort. You know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 25 years almost. And when I'm at my gym, I've spent so much time there. I'm very familiar with my audience, so to speak. So, you know, I know my content like a lot better. Like I know jiu-jitsu. I know that my jiu-jitsu works a lot more than I know that my joke's funny. So it might be funny to me, but I don't know if it's funny to other people, you know, where it's like, I know my jiu-jitsu works on other people because I've done it to other people. You know what I mean? So I feel more comfortable in the jiu-jitsu gym, but I'm trying to get that same level of comfort on the mic.
Nice. That's interesting. You said that the stage, so it's like both are the different stages, like your stage in jiu-jitsu and training. You have your audience with everybody that you are training with, and comedy is the same thing. Or I guess the stage is a group of people that you have no idea who they are. And I imagine for me, I think comedy, I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but I think comedy is probably the number one hardest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that like we all have things that we think are funny. Like I try to think about the stuff that like I think is funny that makes me laugh. And I'm going to share that with other people. Like, I don't like to think of it from the perspective of like, what's going to make these people laugh? You know what I mean? It's just like, this shit makes me laugh. So I'm going to say it. And, you know, like sometimes I feel like comedy is contagious. Like somebody might be laughing at something that's not even funny, but because they think it's so funny, you start laughing. You know, like, I don't know why you think this is so funny, but now I'm laughing because you're laughing at it. So I think that like that can carry over. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of parallels between the jiu-jitsu arena and comedy, but it's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah, that makes me think of, I don't know if you're familiar with William Montgomery.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch him the first time, you may not think it's funny at all, but it is the most hilarious thing ever. And one of my favorite bits that he does is when people are laughing and he points out the person laughing and he screams at the person for laughing.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And it shouldn't be funny. It's not even a joke, but because it's funny, like you said, it's contagious. It makes it funnier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. He doesn't write structured jokes at all.
He just, it's a weird form, like not to go kind of deep into it, but it almost seems like, not a form of intimidation, but it's almost like playing chicken with the audience. And I notice he does that with a lot of guests. When they're on stage, what he does is if they say something to him, he goes, "What was that?" And they're like, now you have to repeat your joke back to him. And it's like, you kind of lost. So it's like, he has that so like, I don't know. It's like very masterful because I'm like really big on like body language and like subversion. And he just has that perfect. And I feel like that's like the ultimate like trap is like, just ask somebody like that. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, look at this stupid guy." And he goes, "What was that?" And it's like, you have to repeat it. And because you have to repeat it, you feel dumb.
And now he's in control.
Now he's in control. Yeah. Forgot what comedian, what his name is, but he was the only one to actually get him to kind of like smile and be like, "All right, you got me." Like, it was really good. But it's funny when you mention it. It's funny. Like, who's it funny to? Is it funny to him? Or is it funny because it's not funny? You can go too deep into it. But we're going to talk about stand up a little bit more later. And the fact that you said, I want to go back to you being on the mat for 25 years now. That's
almost, yeah. February would be 25.
That's amazing. And the fact that you're still able to walk in here normally is also crazy.
Yeah.
Can you remember your very first day on the mats?
Yeah, sure can. So it was February 2001. and I went to this school called Prodigy Martial Arts. It was over on Libby and Broad, and I think it's like a pawn store now. But it was a school that taught like every martial art. Like they had Thai boxing, they had knife and stick fighting, they had kung fu, they had like a Jeet Kune Do class, which was a mix of everything, and then they had jujitsu. And so I knew I wanted to do jujitsu, but like I was willing to do anything. Like I just wanted to do a martial art. So I think the first class I did was the Jeet Kune Do class. So I thought I was like Bruce Lee and shit. And like I remember what we learned, and it was really dumb. It was like a stick fighting drill, but like without sticks. So it's like, oh, if they try to punch you, you can do your stick fighting drill, and you can punch them on the inside of the bicep, and then their arm's gonna go numb, and then they can't punch you anymore. And yeah, it was like really weird. So then the first jujitsu class that I did, so my coach was a guy named Dave Womack, still friends with him to this day. And there was a guy in the class named Andy. And Andy was like a big dude. Like he was 200-pound guy. I was like 145 pounds at the time, scrawny. And Andy had been training for a little bit. And just to give you a picture, like this big older guy, like I think he was in his 40s. I was 20. He had a big bald spot on the top of his head. Like he was like the friar haircut, you know? And anyway, this dude just beat the shit out of me. Like I remember he had his knee, like I was belly down. He had his knee like in between my shoulder blades and was just pulling my shoulders off the mat and driving his knee into my spine. And I don't know what that submission is, but it was just pure pain. And I think back to that day and I have no idea why I came back. Like I decided I had to come back, but like it sucked.
Yeah. Do you think coming back was like an ego thing? Like you wanted to beat Andy, or was it just like, this is awesome? Like what was the motivation to come back? Because driving your knee through your sternum, I think a lot of people would opt out after that.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sure it's like some part of it was ego, just like this thought that like, you know, if you're going to do martial arts, like you're probably going to deal with discomfort and like you can't just quit. Like, you know, you watch the martial arts movies growing up, dude. It's like the training's tough, you know, but that's the montage. You got to get into the montage and then. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm sadistic. I don't know, but it definitely was not a pleasurable experience.
Nice. So you speak about training montages. So who was your low pan, so to speak?
Oh, dude, Low Pan was sweet. I love Big Trouble in Little China. Old Jack Burton.
Yeah.
But I like. I mean. All of them, really. Like there was American Ninja with Michael Dudikoff.
Yeah, classic.
There was all the Van Damme movies. Yeah, I like those a lot.
Yeah.
What else? Who else was like? Of course, the Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like just watching the early UFCs too. Yeah, watching Horace Gracie.
I think I just recently watched a couple of the first UFCs, and I was like, damn, they're like really fighting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a different energy than it is now. Cause now it's like, okay, you know, it's a little, everyone knows everything and it's kind of who can get the best takedowns and, you know, who can systematically, it's very, you know,
it's an established sport.
It's like clinical. It's like, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that. It almost feels like a video game, but those early fights, I remember just watching, I was like, damn, they're fighting. They're like, this is like a real fight. Like,
yeah, it was just like a bar brawl essentially.
Yeah. That's
that dude Keith Hackney just teeing off on Joe San's D.
Yeah, like damn. And I guess it worked. I mean,
you're allowed to hit him in the penis.
You're allowed to, yeah. And it's like, okay, it works. That's real fighting. So it sounds like I want to ask this question, but it, you know, after being here for 25 years, was there any moment you almost quit jiu-jitsu?
Weirdly, no. But there were times that I thought that I wasn't going to be able to continue. There was never in my mind like a time where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But there were times where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I had to get hip surgery in 2011. And after the hip surgery, so what happened was I tore my labrum. So I had to get the cartilage repaired, and it was pretty bad because I put off the surgery for a long time because I had some tournaments that I wanted to do. I wanted to keep training, and I should have gotten the surgery sooner than I did. So when I finally got the surgery, a lot of the cartilage in my hip was too chewed up to repair, so they just had to cut it out.
Oh, wow.
And then after the surgery, when it was supposed to have healed, it still felt like pretty bad, still felt terrible. So for a while, like if I walked like 3 or 4 blocks, I would be in pain. And then I would just be like, all right, now someone's got to freaking carry me home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like it was scary because I had just put all my eggs in one basket, you know, like I wasn't any kind of academic, you know, like when I was a kid growing up, I didn't really have any direction. I wasn't good at school. I had all kinds of ADHD that nobody was really addressing, and like had a really hard time focusing. And I just found school to be really difficult. I wasn't organized. And so I started doing a bunch of drugs when I was in high school. And, you know, I didn't care about school at all. And then when it came to college, I started taking a couple classes at VCU, but like I had no idea of what I wanted to, you know, to do with my life. And so like when I found jiu-jitsu, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I didn't know how I was going to turn that into a living, but that's what I wanted to do. So, I didn't really have anything to fall back on. You know, I started when I was 20 and, you know, did it for several years. And so like so I started 2001, and then 10 years later, 2011, that's when I got the hip surgery. And so then after that, when I started feeling like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this anymore, it was a real scary kind of dark time, because it was like, you know, if you look at like my resume on paper, it's like, well, you barely graduated high school, you did 2 years of college and dropped out, and then you've just been fucking rolling with dudes for 10 years. Like, so yeah, you can clean the floors in the bathroom.
That's, I mean, I hear you. I was very similar path, barely made it out of high school and 2 years of community college. And pretty much I had a major slowdown of training once I got my ACL. I popped my ACL pretty majorly bad in 2011, and I've been training for like 4 years by then. And I was like,
2011 was a bad year for us.
And I was just like, oh, what do now? Like, I was like, I can work at Dick's Sporting Goods, I guess. But yeah, so I want to know more, like, so you started training in 2001. Like VHS era jiu-jitsu. Trading tapes.
YouTube didn't exist.
It was trading tapes, trading VHSs, you know, the mythical, you know, even a purple belt from was like, like, you know, and if you ever got the chance to roll with the actual somebody from Brazil, it was just like you rolling with a god, essentially. But I want to know too, the main was, when did Upstream start?
Upstream started 10 years ago. So we started in October of 2015.
What was the motivation to start Upstream?
I always, so I started doing jiu-jitsu in Richmond here. And in 2005, it was the end of November. It was like November. I don't know why I can remember these dates, but it was like the end of November of 2005. I moved away from Richmond to do jiu-jitsu full time. So I moved up to Lloyd Irvin's martial arts academy. I was training there, and you know, it was like my goal when I left Richmond. It was like, I'm gonna go pursue jiu-jitsu at a place where I feel like is a higher level than where I'm at in Richmond, and try to get a black belt and come back home one day and open up a gym. So I did that. It was a long journey. But in 2014, I moved back to Richmond and started Upstream, you know, planning. And in 2015 is when we opened.
So what was that? What was the hardest part initially about building Upstream?
Well, honestly, like it was like a perfect storm. A lot of things came together for me like really well. So my first instructor, Dave Womack, he reached out to me and he had heard that I was trying to open up a gym, and he had a gym here in Richmond. And he was like, hey, look, like I'm closing my gym down. Maybe you can come teach at my gym for like the last month that we're open. And then you can take the students to your gym when you open up. And I was like, all right, perfect. Then not only that, he gave me a bunch of mats to open up with. So I didn't have to spend too much money to get started. So it was like that came together perfectly. Just the fact that his business was closing. He was going to do something else right when I was going to open mine. So I got to start out with a small student base. I was dating my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she helped me with so much of like getting started. A lot of things came together. We were able to find a location where we could open up the gym, and like they gave me like a really discounted rate for the first year that we were open. So I only needed like 10 students to cover the rent. And like I said, it just all kind of came together. So I got lucky.
Nice. So when you were starting Upstream, when you had like the initial vision and thinking back on it, that initial vision, does it match where it's at now?
I think so. You never know what things are going to look like. We're currently looking for a new location for my gym to get a bigger space. I was hoping that would be done by now, but it hasn't. And that's a big struggle right now, is like finding a location that's like doesn't cost too much to get started in. Even though we have a student base now, a lot of these places that I'm looking at to rent a space, you have to do all this build out to get it where you want it. And it's like when I moved into the building where Upstream is now, there were 2 bathrooms. There was a HVAC unit already in the place. There was a water fountain. All I had to do was put mats down and get started. But like looking for a new location now, like you go to these places and it's just an empty shell. And they're like, oh, you want bathrooms? That's going to be this much added to the rent. You want an HVAC unit? It's going to be this much. And then, so you add some $80,000 HVAC unit to the building, and then I'm supposed to pay for that. And then when I move out, I've bought them, that unit. So it's really weird, like, the way that it works nowadays. I don't know if I'm straying far from the original question.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah. I just, as far as the original vision goes, when I just wanted, I wanted to have a gym where it's not too strict. I don't want to have this like crazy formal gym. Everyone's got to wear a white gi, kind of bow to your sensei shit,
bow to your sensei.
But like, I wanted to have good jiu-jitsu. I want people to train hard, but I want people to have a good time. And I think we've achieved that. So
yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, coming from someone that's been training for quite some time, about 12 to 15 years, I don't even know anymore. There's a lot of Richmond schools here. How would you describe the jiu-jitsu community here in Richmond?
I mean, overall, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's for a small city, I think we have a lot of academies, but we try to have an open door to everybody, and a lot of other academies have the same thing, open mats that you can go to and visit, and there doesn't seem to be like any bad blood. So I don't know. I think it's cool. Like whenever we have open mats or marathon rolls, like we always get visitors from a bunch of different academies, and sometimes people from other academies will just drop into a class at Upstream. And I know my students like to go cross train. So I think like overall that part of the equation is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing I've noticed down here is you go to one school, you're like, oh, I see you. Hey, what are you doing over here? It's like, oh, okay, it's cool. What would you say is unique about the community at Upstream?
I don't know. Like, what's unique about it, but I think that we have a pretty laid back, but like good environment. I think, people train hard. People, are trying to be technical. They're, pursue like competitive jiu-jitsu, but there's also people that are just, I think we're approachable for everybody. I have people who get started in jiu-jitsu when they're 40 and they're got kids and they just want to have a place to, you know, do something to exercise and have a good time. But we also have people that are, you know, training for tournaments, and I think everybody gets along pretty good. So overall, I think we have a good vibe that way. I don't know if that's unique. I think a lot of academies offer that, but.
So I know for me, the apex predator is the blue belt wrestler wearing a t-shirt, dropping. So how is it when, let's say, just doesn't have to be a specific example, but how do you handle like ego on the mat and in the room?
Well, when I was younger, I used to have this insecurity that, like, if I had to tell someone to calm down or something, that they were going to think I was a bitch. So I just like had to prove like my dominance on them. You know, it's like some guys like acting like a tough guy. And, like, you know, I got to try to put them in their place or some bullshit. Yeah. Now I find that using words works better. So I just talk to them like a human being, and I just am like, hey man, you need to calm down. The way you're rolling, you're gonna hurt somebody, and if you're gonna keep rolling like that, I'm gonna ask you to step off the mat. Works a lot better.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just tell people, and I have a confidence to be direct in jiu-jitsu in a way that doesn't carry over to all parts of my life. I wish it did, but like in jiu-jitsu is like, I know what's going on here. I've been in this game for a long time, so I can like be sure of myself in that way. And I can just tell people, you know, because sometimes you try to talk to people and they try to give you some bullshit. They're like, oh, I wasn't, you know, I was just trying. I mean, I didn't even know. And you're just like, no, that's not what happened. You did this. You know what you did. Don't do it again. Stop it. You know? And it's like, and made me think about like, you know, what cops must go through, like pulling people over. Cause it's like, they see the same situation over and over again. It's like, I pulled you over. It's like, what reaction are you going to give me? Are you going to give me the, I didn't even know I was speeding? Or are you going to be angry at me because I pulled you over? You know, or are you just going to be like, yeah, I was speeding. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like, you know, I see people in the same situation in jiu-jitsu all the time. And then it's like, people just start to fall into categories. Like, you're the person who acts like they had no idea what they were doing, even though they were like just beating the shit out of like, you know, someone half their size. And, you know, I don't know. So I try to talk to people, try to be direct with them, tell them what's up.
I can't go full force. Like,
we had a guy who was like, he was a big guy. He was a white belt, but he was a white belt who'd been training for about 4 years. So he wasn't the whitest white belt. And like I said, he was a big guy. And when he would roll with women, he would just try to beat the ever-loving shit out of them. And
worst. You
know, it was just like no give and take, no like, okay, like, you know, we're gonna move through a lot of positions. I don't think people should just like let women beat the shit out of them and not offer any kind of offense, but it's like there should be a give and take. There should be a lot of movement. You shouldn't just be holding position because like you can. And with him, it was just like force his way to side control, Americana the shit out of him. You know what I mean? It was just like just totally being a bully. And so I told him, I was like, hey man, like I don't want to see you rolling like that. I don't want to see you doing that. And then you know, I tried to be like direct with him and tell him what he was doing wrong. And he was like, oh, I didn't even know. I'm sorry. You know, like all like whatever. And then I went out of town to go teach a seminar. And while I was out of town, he did that to one of the women at my gym. And he totally just like took advantage of the situation that I was out of town and thought that like that was going to, you know, he was going to get away with it. And luckily, like all the guys in the room saw what he did. And then they... they tuned him up pretty good.
Nice.
And then he quit jiu-jitsu after that day. So I was actually really grateful for my guys for that. But yeah, you know, sometimes you have to teach somebody a lesson, but generally I try to just talk to people.
Yeah. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. It's very self-policing. Like if there's a fake black belt, like just don't try. Like they're going to find you out in 2 seconds. Or if you're piecing up.
What are you trying to say about Derek Moneyberg, dude?
Exactly. Well, actually, hold on. I have this jersey here. No.
I got the T-shirt.
Do you really?
That's my Halloween costume today.
Oh my God.
I get to be Moneybird.
That's amazing. You have to tag him though. You definitely have to tag him. He'll probably charge you. He'll probably send you like a Venmo invoice if you wear it without him.
Hey, I contributed to him. I bought the T-shirt from his website. It's a legit T-shirt.
I love that. Our hero, our jiu-jitsu hero, Derek Moneyberg. So with being competitor, business owner, trainer, do you still love jiu-jitsu?
I do. I don't know what life. I've been doing it for now over half my life, which is, I can't say that about anything else. So I don't know what life would be like without jiu-jitsu. I don't know who I would be without it. I feel like it's been the vehicle that I've like grown through in life so much, shapes the way that I see everything. So I still really deeply appreciate and love jiu-jitsu. And in fact, now I feel like I have more fun training than I ever did, because like as my understanding of jiu-jitsu has grown over the years, I get to be creative. I get to move in a way that I couldn't when I was younger because I just didn't know how to. So I love like being able to just figure things out or make things up on the fly, or study a new, learn a new toy and go play with it. Like, so I don't know. I still love it.
I wonder, is it mainly, you think, just because there's essentially, you've learned and you mastered so much that you can break the rules essentially? For me, I always say side body bottom is a position,
right?
Because I've been training so long and I'm very comfortable being on the bottom that I have a lot of reversals for there.
Sure.
And then a lot of people hate rolling with me because of it, because it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But I'm at a point now where that's what's fun to me, is like breaking the rules. It's like, just stand up. Yeah, just stand up. And people are like, oh, that's a bonehead, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I like to put myself in weird positions and see if I'm rolling with somebody who is less skilled than me, and I'm going to pass your guard and then I'm going to mount you and submit you like that.
It's like, cool. What do we both get out of this?
Exactly. But what's more fun is to like let them get on your back and then try to escape and see if you can turn it on them, or, in between positions, like when you have someone's back and they start to slide out and you're not quite in mount, but you're not quite on the back. Can I just hold you here? And just like, you're like stuck on your side, just like, I don't know. I like doing stuff like that. And like, I don't know, like the last real fun thing that I did was like obsessing over Barada Platas, like, and that was just totally me copying Joe Al Meow. But I started watching him like catching this thing on everybody, and like hitting it from everywhere, and I was like, okay, I want to do that. And then for a while, like that was like a thing where I would be like, okay, the only thing I can submit my students with is Barada Platas. And I do this for like a couple months, and it's like I could start with an ankle lock. It's got to end in a Barada Plata. Like the thing that makes them tap has to be that. So how do I go from where I'm at to that? know, and I like creating little challenges for myself in that way.
Yeah, I love that, because my favorite thing is the look of confusion on people's face. Like just like what you mentioned about how, oh, you're supposed to take my back and now I'm going to get out. But like, what if I just sit here in this half position? And then just watching their face being like, wait, what? You're supposed to try to get out. I'm like, what next? And then like, you decide, you figure it out. That to me is what, I need to jump on the mats. It's been, since my daughter was born 7 months ago. Haven't been on the mat, but I know that's not an excuse. So I need to get back on that. But I do know.
Well, congratulations on the daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to get her on the mats ASAP. But yeah, before I was just like messing around. It's like, I could, exactly you said, I can throw my weight around, I could pass your guard, I could submit you, but like, okay, cool. What did I go home and like win a medal? Like, no, it's like, it's funnier. And that's what it comes down to. It's funny,
It's like you're entertaining yourself.
It's funny. Like when people are like, wait, what are you doing? Or they're just like, they laugh at the ridiculousness of what you're doing and like the fact that they can't figure it out. Like that to me is what it's worth coming through training. And obviously it's like shifted a little bit for me. I mean, you probably have felt this as being an instructor, that altruistic side is like, now I get the fulfillment of messing around, making people laugh on the mat for being silly, and then helping people. Like that's the biggest thing, is like giving my time back, and being able to impart some knowledge. And I'm not talking like you're about to submit me and I'm like, you need to be better here, but
just teach what you know to somebody.
Yeah,
people
like,
ask you, they start to come up to you, like when you're like a white belt, you're not the teacher, but you get to a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and then people are like asking you how you're doing what you're doing.
That's my favorite thing. I'm like, oh, let me tell you. Or afterwards, where I see somebody, I'm just like, you can definitely pass my guard. All you have to do is just like tweak this a little bit, move your hips, and you're going to be crushing my guard. And then like telling those little things, and then coming back and be like, oh shit, like never mind, I'm not telling you a thing anymore, because you're actually passing my guard. So like I'm not going to have that anymore. But that's definitely like one of my favorite parts of just like training in general. So on that same topic, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened during a roll?
Well, this is not a story of glory. This is a story of shame.
I'm ready for it.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I think the funniest thing that I've seen on the mat is what happened to me, which was I was rolling with one of our black belts, David Story. All right. This is a story about David Story. And
a beast, by the way.
And he literally jumped over my guard and he landed on knee on belly.
Oh, no.
You know where this is going. Have you ever stepped on a ketchup packet and just had it explode out one end?
Yes.
I was wearing a white gi.
Oh, my goodness.
Someone had to tell me, hey, Seph, I think you need to change your pants. At that moment, class was over. Everyone was ordered to go home. And I went home in shame. And you know what? If I was a student somewhere and I saw that, I would never be able to stop talking about it. And I'm kind of disappointed that like my students aren't talking about that more, because if I saw that happen to someone else, I would never be able to stop talking about it and laughing at it. I'm immature like that. And like one time I even brought it up in front of one of the people that was there, and they were like, oh yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh yeah. How'd you forget about that?
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, yeah, that happened.
Nice. I'm actually shocked. I mean, I've been training at your gym for quite a while, and no one's ever told me that story.
No one's ever been like, one time Seph shit his pants on the mat, and it was visibly evident.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good thing, man. Like your students definitely have your back. So.
I guess. They don't want my back after that.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. See, that's the actual technique. That's the money move right there.
Yep. That's the money burg.
Just the money burg. Yeah. Evacuate.
Money turd.
Yeah. Cause like a health hazard immediately.
Yeah,
I mean,
biological warfare.
But going back to Jeet Kune Do, like, like use everything that's necessary, disregard the rest. Like that's a valid tactic.
That's right.
Life or death, like you're getting a ketchup pack squirted on you. So, so going into stand up, obviously, like, you mentioned that earlier with the difference. And I thought it was really interesting how you viewed both as a stage, like your training room as a stage and the stage of comedy, the same thing. How did stand up start?
Stand up was just something that I always wanted to do. I've always really admired stand up comics and just been a big fan of stand up comedy. And I wanted to do it for a long time, but I just didn't have the balls. Like I would think about it and be like, maybe this is the year, and I would write little jokes to myself. Like if this was my stand up routine, like I would do this, but I just never did it. And then I saw that they were having a stand-up comedy school at the Richmond Funny Bone. And they had actually had that for a while, and I wanted to do it, but I had to teach at the time where the class was happening. Then eventually I worked it into the schedule that Monday nights I would have off. Someone else would be covering for me Monday nights. And then I saw an ad for the comedy school again, and I was just like, oh yeah, I got Mondays free now. I could do this. And I just said, all right, let's go. And so I did the class, and it was a lot of fun. There was like, I think like 13 or 15 people in my class, and just, a wide range of characters. Like there's just, we had this old British guy named Sean who was like in his 50s, who was just like dressed like a rock star. Like, he looked like an 80s rock star. Just all kinds of different people in the class, a lot of whom I'm still friends with today. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a cool class. They got another class at the Richmond Funny Bone coming up real soon. I forget the date on it when it starts, but you can go on the Richmond Funny Bone website and see it. But I would recommend that to anybody. Like, I think it's just a cool way to do something different and get out of your comfort zone. And, you get a chance to work through all this stuff, and then at the end of the class you perform at the Richmond Funny Bone, which is a cool experience. Like, go up on a stage in front of a crowded room. Like, for our graduation, we had the whole club sold out because everybody who's there is bringing a bunch of people, and I brought a bunch of people from the jiu-jitsu gym. We had another guy who brought in a whole ton of people from his work, and he was a high school teacher. So it was cool to like have a crowded arena and you're like performing in front of everybody. And I don't know, but that's how it started. Just jumping in there.
Mm-hmm. Now with the comedy school, do you see a lot of parallels with jiu-jitsu where it's like they come in off the street, they do it, and they realize it's not for me? Did you see that with your class? Did you have people drop out essentially and they're like, not for me?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone who did it though performed at the graduation show. I think it was like maybe like 2 people didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like even the people, like, to me, it's like in jiu-jitsu, it's not about being talented. Like, it's not about being the best in the room. It's not about learning the fastest. When I started doing jiu-jitsu, I can tell you there were a ton of people that were like more talented than me, but they eventually dropped off. It's about sticking to it and just being resilient and having perseverance. I think that's the most important trait in jiu-jitsu. If you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, just don't quit. It's all about, sticking to the thing. And I think with stand-up comedy, it's got to be the same thing. I bet there are a lot of famous comedians who remember comics that were so much funnier than them, when they started, but eventually fell off. And they just stuck to it, and they eventually made it to where they are. So I think that is just an important thing in any arena, is just sticking to something, I don't think that I was like the funniest person in the room or anything like that. And when I go to open mics, I mean, I'm a white belt, dude. Like, I'm a total white. Like, I see these guys that are way funnier than me, but I asked them, I'm like, how long have you been doing this? And they're like 4 years, 5 years, something like this. And I'm like, okay. But then I went to an open mic the other day, and there was a guy, it was his first open mic. He had never done any comedy school. He had just written jokes for himself, and bro, he killed. Like, he was like super funny, clever jokes. I mean, he had obviously been writing jokes for a long time, but it was his first time like going in front of a group, and I was just like, God, this guy's good. But I don't know. Like, I'm 44 years old. A lot of these people start when they're 20. Like, I'm just doing it because I want to do it and say I did it before with every year that I wanted to do it and I didn't do it, I was like kicking myself. I'd be like, New Year's Eve, like, I didn't do any open mics. I never had the balls to go up and do it. Like, I guess maybe next year, So,
yeah, like I said earlier, like, I think stand-up is the scariest thing in the entire planet. So I think I put it above jumping out of planes. But with your experience as doing jiu-jitsu for 25 years and understanding a big part of jiu-jitsu and being successful for it is sucking, and sucking for a very long time and continuing to sucking. Myself, black belt, 10 plus years. I never, ever once in my entire career of training, competing, ever looked at myself or thought of myself as good. And I think that's having that constant student mindset helps. Do you think in comedy, is that a similar kind of mindset?
I think you just I feel like most of the people that do stand-up comedy, they, I don't know, like they seem to all be kind of fucked up people. And when I'm not one of those people. Like I don't consider myself in the same league as the people that I look up to and listen to, but I listen to them in like podcasts and stuff, and they're all kind of insecure people. And it's like, when they are on stage, they feel very in their element, but as soon as they're off stage, I don't know, like a lot of them are just like never feel like anything they did was good, but people love them, and they sell out arenas, but they still have that insecurity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just think that with any artistic thing, it's like you're always just working at getting better. Like with jiu-jitsu, like I don't think that I've got it at all, but I'm way better than I was 5 years ago. But like you're always developing, like, so I don't know. I think that's the thing. It's like I don't think you ever get to where you want to be. You're just always trying to get better.
The journey.
Yeah.
The continual journey and having fun with it. And I guess that would probably be the same thing with stand-up where, Dave Chappelle or someone just like pops in a room and just fucks around and says like messes with people on purpose. Or like William Montgomery, that's messing with people on purpose because it's funny. But it's not the standard, but because they're so good, they can do those things. And I was curious with stand-up and jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, you have training, you have drilling, you have rolling, you have competition. So with comedy, what's the same kind of sequence of events there? It's writing a joke, or I guess ideating, thinking about a joke, and then open mics, I'm assuming, are the practice.
Yeah.
And then after that, the show is the competition. Well, I guess you can call open mics as the competition kind of. But.
Well, yeah. So like, for example, I've never been booked on a show. I've just, I did the graduation show for the class. And so with the class, like what we would do is like every week we would get a writing assignment. It would be like, what's unique about your family, or what's up? What do you think about what's something funny or, strange about Richmond weather? Or just, they would just give you these like kind of loose, open-ended topics, and you would have to write something from it, and then we would all perform what we wrote each week to the class. So you get used to going up on the stage. You have the crowd of the class, and you would tell your joke, and then you would get immediate feedback from the instructor. He would be like, you can't say this, or he'd be like, this has got too many words in it. Like you need to trim it down to get to the funny part faster. If it's too wordy, people are like having to listen too long before they get hit with something that makes them laugh. They lose interest. They start thinking about something else, and they're not with you anymore. So like, you would get this feedback. And so then you would just like go make your adjustments, and that was that. And then like at the end for the graduation show, he would like take notes. The instructor would take notes on like what you did throughout the entirety of the class. And then he would be like, I want you to do this joke, and this joke in this order, like start with this, then this, then this, then this. And then once you had your like whole set, right, it was going to be like a 5 to 7 minute set. It was on you to memorize it, to have that down, right? And then we would perform like our graduation set, and then like once we had that down and seemed like we had that whole set locked in, then we would perform it for the actual graduation show. So that was cool. It was cool, like going through that whole, like, I don't know, it was like 7 weeks or something, building towards this thing and then performing that thing. And then like when I go to open mics, yeah, it's like, for me, it's like something will just hit me, like it just, I try to be really like if something hits me, I try to write it down immediately, because it's going to, I'll think of it and then it'll be gone. But if I can write it down and it's just like a loose premise or idea, then I can go and I can start writing that joke and try to write it out. And then I'll get it to where like I think it's funny, and you know, all the things like I learned in the class, like try to make sure I get to the funny quick. There's not too many words, this kind of thing. And then I'll go to an open mic and try it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's a flop. But the thing that's also weird about that is that when you go to open mics, the crowd is pretty much only other comics. And like when you're trying to think about building some kind of set, let's say you wanted to build a 10-minute set, you're going to have to go to several open mics and you're going to perform this material, you know, over and over again, and you're going to make adjustments along the way. But what you don't get is like actual audience that's like, you know, just like you don't get to just perform this stuff in front of regular people. It's only the comics, and like pretty much the same comics go to every open mic. So now they've heard you tell this joke every single time. It's the fifth time they've heard you tell this joke. They're not going to give you any laughs. And it's like, you know, it's hard to gauge whether or not like you're actually funny to regular people when all you're performing in front of is other comics. And, you know, you can do some wild ass William Montgomery shit at an open mic to try to get these comics to laugh, but that's different than the regular audience. I honestly find it's easier to make like a regular crowd laugh than it is other comics. Comics don't give you anything. Like they're just like, oh, okay, good one, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess it's more you're just getting your performance down, but then you don't have the feedback that you need, because they're just like, so it's on you essentially. Like, okay, now I feel good about this performance. Now I have to go see if this performance is going to perform well in front of the intended audience, you know?
But then it's like, where's the audience? Someone has to book you to do a show.
Yeah.
I don't get an audience. So I just, you know.
It's like in the design world, you see it a lot where it's designers designing for designers. And it's like, you'll see these beautiful pieces of like graphic design or posters, and you're like, and the designers are like, wow, this is amazing. But for the average person, they're like, what am I looking at? This is like squiggles, you know? Yeah. So it's like the same thing. It's like doing your comedy performances for comedians or for the audience, and how do you get that feedback immediately from the audience? So what's your favorite part about comedy? Is it the writing aspect? Is it the performing aspect? Is it like trying to search for the laugh? Like, what's your favorite part of comedy?
I don't know. I think my brain thinks of fucked up shit all the time, and things happen and everybody's all serious about something, and part of my brain is just like thinking of like, what's the worst thing I could say in this moment that make everybody lose their mind. And I don't know, I just like I just have that side of my brain all the time, and I just feel compelled to do it. Like when I'm teaching jujitsu, like I'll be explaining something, and then, you know, we're talking about how we must insert ourselves, and you know, it's just, you know, it's like you can't say this shit without, you know, saying something that sounds sexual or something. I don't know. So it's like I'll acknowledge it in a way that people laugh, and I don't know. Like I feel like I naturally just feel compelled to do that when I'm teaching jujitsu. Like I have these thoughts all the time, and I'm just like sharing them now. And so I think that, like, I don't know, like I said, if it makes me laugh, there's a chance it's going to make someone else laugh. So that's fun. And you get to be creative about it, but sometimes you say things and people don't like it, and they're like, that's not cool. And then you're like, okay, well,
how can I make it funny then?
Yeah.
Like monetizing your intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I say. That's what I appreciate about training it and taking your classes, because like you say out loud the things that I think everyone's thinking, and it's just funny. But then it's funny because you just keep it moving, so you don't dwell on it. It's like, I got to get this out. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what she said, or, you know, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what, man, now I miss jiu-jitsu. I need to get back in there ASAP. All right. Well, thank you so much for today. I have one last question.
Sure.
Do you ever think about legacy?
Not really. I don't want to think about it. Like, whatever it is it is what it is. You know, like if I have a legacy of, you know, teaching jiu-jitsu, positively affecting people's lives, telling a bunch of dick jokes, and you know, whatever, then that's what it is. You know, I'll leave it up to other people to recount that. I don't want to try hard to be in control of that. I want to just be me and do what I like to do, and that's going to be what it is. You know, I was with my ex-girlfriend one time, and we were in, I think it was like South Carolina, and we went to a tournament. And after the tournament, we were out and about drinking on the town, and I think I was drawing a penis on the dirt on someone's back windshield of their car. And as I was doing it, a person comes up, they're like, Seph Smith? And it was just some person from the jiu-jitsu world who like recognized me. And I was in the middle of this, and I was like, hey, maybe that's my legacy.
I think nobody can ask for anything better. And that's amazing. I think that puts a stamp on it perfectly. Well, thank you, Seph, for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Get to learn more about you, jiu-jitsu, and comedy. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. All right. Done. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that was great. That was awesome, man. I was trying not to...